Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to episode 6 of Correspondent, where I'm delighted to be joined by our buzzing bee today. Tom Med is pre-recording with me on Monday night, just because, they might buy someone in the next 24 hours. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, good mate. I heard, Mbappe's on his way to us, so by tomorrow we should be. This will be completely redundant, won't it?
Literally, first sentence, and you're already trying to get shit gags in, mate. Fair game.
It's been a while.
You must be pleased with the ending. We laughed a lot throughout last season. It was like, God, look at those final fixtures Brentford have got. I hope they're not having second season syndrome. And you won most of them anyway,
Yeah,
remarkably. And ever so nearly squeezed into the Conference League,
yeah. That last day,
remarkably.
especially with everyone's laughing, obviously. Oh, got to beat City on the final day, and then hope results go away. And it was like, oh, well, we've done the beating City bit. It's just the results didn't go away. So, yeah, not bad at all.
That's a great finish, ninth. Can it be improved upon, or is that a ceiling right now?
I mean, this year I would be surprised if we're replicating what we did last year. I think we definitely overperformed what we should have done potentially, but I think it would be. I mean, it'd be ridiculous if we went a step ahead of that again, especially with obviously we'll come on to it, but the main man not being in the team for the first few months. So no, I can't imagine we replicate what we did last year. Could get close.
We'll go on then, segue, because you've not been on the pod actually since he was given his ban. How do you feel about it, reflecting a couple of months on from the ban that Ivan Toney got?
I think he definitely. I mean, I always put it to start with. He definitely deserves to get a ban because he broke the rules. Whether I think the rules are fair or not, that's a completely different
Yeah, I get
story. I
that.
think, and something. I think the fact that I think there's definitely been a lot of backlash recently. Obviously, Brentford have just re-signed their shirt sponsor with Hollywood Bets, and I know that me included were. I mean, it's the first. I think it's the first thing since Matthew Bennon's taken over the club that I'm actually really disappointed in that we've re-signed with them for another year. Whereas
So
when we were
was
out
that
of
not
contract,
already in place? I mean, it could have
no,
been though, right?
I mean, potentially, but so when they signed, so I went back and had a look because I was like, I imagine it was just a 2-year deal, and that's why they've sort of continued it. But they made it very clear in the first press release when they signed a couple of years ago that this was a 1-year shirt signing deal. Now, whether there was something in the background, and I'm sure there would have been, but you know, we're not that poor that we could just sack off the contract and go get another sponsor. You know what I mean? It's like for me, and especially the fact that now Tony's going to come back from his ban and going to have to put on a shirt sponsor. And now he's obviously mentioned the fact that he's got a gambling issue and problem, and he's going to have to go stick on a shirt with Hollywood Bets written across the front. It's a bit of a joke from my point of
Yeah,
view.
I mean, you say you'd get another shirt sponsor, but that team you keep beating at Stamford Bridge ain't got one at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Just play with that one. And Thomas, as much as it pains me, lovely kit. So
Thing is, as well, was thinking about, I was discussing this with Suj last week. Where'd Matthew Benham make his money from?
Ben, exactly. It's
So that's
such
the owner
a
of the football club. As essentially where you are, he
yeah,
has a huge role in that,
of
and
course.
he's made his fortune through gambling.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a tough one to sort of talk about, I guess, from my side. And to be honest, there's a lot of owners where money's come from interesting places, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and it's not illegal, it's not anything, there's nothing wrong with betting. I mean, I'll have a £1 acca every weekend.
No, I
But
mean he's been good at it.
yeah, exactly. And
Reality. So
I think it's one of those where, in my opinion, I thought that the ban was an example made out of him. I thought it could have been. It's one of those where it could have been a lot worse, but I think it was also quite harsh in comparing it to sort of other things that have come out, since and obviously things that have happened previously. I thought he did get a sort of the dirty end of the stick on it.
yeah, my opinion on it is not too dissimilar to yours in terms of does he deserve punishment? Yes. Is it perhaps a bit excessive in the rules? Yes. My instincts when we knew it was going to be lengthy ban, it was going to be at least months because of examples we'd had in the past with Trippier. Joey Barton's was obviously really long, for example. My reaction when the news came of how long it was, that's harsh. But actually, when you looked into it and what it was for, my second reaction was, has he actually been a bit lucky?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where they could have thrown the book at him and gone really harsh.
Yeah.
I think the one that annoys me the most about it is, and to be honest, it may be slightly controversial, but if you go back to the Luis Suarez ban for racial abuse against as
Patrice.
Patrice Evra, yeah. And he got what, 10 matches,
Yeah.
and did something which is just completely should never happen. And then you look at a guy who's put a couple of bets on who, let's say 40% or 50% of the stadium will more than likely do. It's on majority of shirt sponsors. It's pushed down everyone's throat on a day-to-day basis when you're watching football. For me, that's where I can't quite understand it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I certainly get your Suarez point. Absolutely. It's worth saying that's what, 12 years or so ago, maybe 10 at least.
Absolutely. I mean,
10 years
obviously,
ago.
a lot of things have changed since then, but
that punishment probably would be a little bit heavier now. But I certainly agree that actually probably wouldn't be as long as what Tony's got.
But no,
I do agree with that. And football does have a massive double standards problem. No question at all. And you've even admitted yourself, your football club's almost a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our shirt sponsor and our owner. Yeah, so I completely accept that. And it's just unfortunately somewhere we're at. So
he's in 0.3% of teams. We presume that's auto selections.
I'd recommend not starting the season with him. Yeah, that's
is that your top tip? Don't go with Ivan Toney.
Don't go with Toney. I mean, unless you want to stick him on the bench if you like him that much. So
does his ban lead to a bit more pessimism going into this season then, rather than optimism? And like what you said, almost an acceptance of it might have topped out last year.
I mean, I think it's one of those where if we started the season with him, then I'd be going to this season going, we can definitely push on from where we were last year, because we can make, again, apart from, again, we'll come to the keeper, but we haven't sold anyone as of yet. The team's relatively stable as it is. The actual playing players all looking fantastic. We're making good additions to that. And so therefore it was, this is going to be really exciting. With him not in the team, and obviously it was a very small sample size without him last year, but obviously in the 5 games without him, we didn't lose. So I'm not full of pessimism.
Yeah, it's very interesting. 4 wins, 1 draw. Those wins include Liverpool, Tottenham away, Manchester City at home, West Ham at home, and I think the draw, I want to say, was Nottingham Forest away from memory.
I think it was, because I think it was a yellow card ban he was on that one. So not pessimistic, not optimistic, that horrible middle ground where I sit on a fence.
That's got to be a big psychological boost to the team. We've seen that in the past with, say, Zaha at Palace, where it was a long-standing thing where without him, you just couldn't buy a win. I think it went on for about 2 years at one point, and across sort of 15, 20 games, they'd never won without him. Whereas your lot know that they can win without him, and even some of the bigger games.
Yeah, it just makes it more exciting, really, for sort of going in. I'm quite excited to see how we sort of set up and how we start the season, because, I mean, obviously we can get knocked down pretty quickly, but it might be quite exciting in the start, going, almost like a nothing to lose, I guess, at the start of the season, because we are sort of not reliant on him.
He definitely got nothing to lose. It's almost like, well, what's the worst case scenario for Brentford this year? I keep thinking to myself without him now. And it probably is dropping down to sort of like 14th, 15th. Like, I can't foresee it getting worse than that. We spoke a lot about second season syndrome last year. And going into this year, because of what you did and others, like second syndromes, no one's even mentioned it for clubs like Bournemouth and Forest at the moment, for example.
I think the big thing for us is actually, as stupid as it sounds, avoiding Europe right towards the end of the season.
I get that.
I mean, if we're in Europe this year, you can see sort of the Wolves when they got to Europe, Sheffield United when they got to Europe. Definitely don't have the squad depth for it. We can focus on the league, continue what we're doing.
What decade Sheffield United got to Europe, but all right.
Who am I thinking of? There's someone.
Burnley, maybe. Burnley got in 1 year, didn't they?
I don't know. Well, maybe next year for Sheffield United. So
if there's a team in red and white stripes qualify for Europe next year, I don't think it'd be them, mate. It'd be you.
We'll go back to Wolves then. Yeah, but when Wolves obviously qualified the year after, they had an absolute stinker, didn't they? So I'm almost happy we didn't get in, because I don't think we're ready for it or there yet. And so I think that's going to be a big help towards this season.
I think from memory, Wolves did all right. I can visualise them getting to. It was the COVID year. They got to the quarterfinals, didn't they? I think they still finished top half. I'm pretty sure they did. Tom.
Did they? I thought they dropped down around about the 12th.
But there's certainly been good examples. Ipswich Town was a classic one back in the early noughties. Finished 5th, didn't they? Got into Europe and got relegated the next year. But I certainly agree with what you're saying in terms of might have been better off at this stage when there was no expectation on the possibility for it to happen. So come on then, big question. Who's the best goalkeeper at your football club?
David Raya at the moment. So,
and for the benefit of those on YouTube, my son's just walked in, and you can't be here, mate. And he's turned the light off. We couldn't have correspondent week without Harry, could we? Harry, where's your mother, mate? Okay, yeah, that's good. That's blinded. Take that with you. Take it back to mum. And can you ask mum to put the light on? It'd be great as well.
James become a Sith Lord all of a sudden.
so, yeah, Tom, who's the best goalkeeper at your football club, mate?
At the moment, it's David Raya, but I imagine he'll be quickly. I feel like he's going to go pretty soon now. It's a matter of time, surely. So, has only played 45 minutes of pre-season and has basically been not used at all. Not even on the bench, not even in the squad on the last 2 friendly games. So, I think he's gone. Obviously, we're expecting him. Well, at the moment, so what was it? Arsenal now all of a sudden are interested, and Bayern Munich are fighting for his signature at the moment. So,
is he definitely going?
I can't see how he can't go at this point, because I don't understand. We're not going to keep if we keep him. I don't think he's going to play. I mean, obviously, I've been pretty adamant on that anyway. But I just can't see why we would. I just can't. I think it's one of those where it's like, Brentford said 40 million. Someone's going to bid 25 million. We'll go 30 million plus add-ons, and there you go. And it's one of those where I can't see him going for 40 million.
No. But then my club was very interested in him. I mean, it was well documented, and ended up buying someone for like a fraction, under half the price. So fine, they found an alternative. But we've discussed this a lot with you in the past. You've got a valuation of a player, won't necessarily be moved on it, mate. And if he does stay and we get beyond August the 31st and he's there, and we're not playing him, you're not just spiting yourself.
I think it's one of those where we've bought in obviously Flekken, and basically he's been told that basically you're coming in to be the first choice keeper. And so to have a player like Raya sat on the bench, it's almost like, fine, you put yourself in that year position where you go, okay, great, Raya's going to continue to play, brilliant, he's a fantastic keeper, great. But then at the end of next year, what happens? Well, Mark Flekken obviously wants to leave because he was told he's going to be first choice keeper, and all of a sudden he's coming and he's not.
Didn't Starkosha come in and he was like, yeah, I'm coming in as number one? He was giving it the big one, wasn't he?
Well, I think so. I think the difference is that he came in with the background of they were still trying to give Raya a new contract. And so I don't think he was ever promised or ever said, you can compete to be number one, but it doesn't mean you're going to be number one. Whereas Mark Fleck has actually come out in an interview and said, the reason I've joined Brentford is because they told me I'm going to be number one. And so we'll see what happens. But basically, it sounds like if I'm not number one, then I'm going to start throwing some toys out the pram.
So as long as he's fit, what percentage would you say Mark Flekken starts game week 1?
So if you asked me yesterday, I'd be like, I still think he starts game week 1. I'm 99% sure. But there's that 1% little bit of doubt because they keep bringing on Thomas Strakosha in little bits and drabs in like friendlies. Everyone's been obviously watching some people watching the friendlies, obviously seeing that Flekken's conceded a lot of goals. It's not looking too comfortable. I think I said yesterday in a tweet that was like, when David Raya first signed for us, he didn't look that comfortable. I remember an absolute stinker where basically playing against Blackburn, where a ball came back to him and literally just miskicked it and rolled straight into the back of his own net. And he wasn't as good at the time as people now see him. And so I think it's one of those where we'll give Flekken time, he'll improve, he'll get better and look good. Yesterday's game, I mean, maybe one of the goals you could say was potentially he could have done better. The other two was defensive. It was shocking. It was really
Hold on. No, sorry. I'm going to put my foot down on that. Don't give me for 1 second he should have saved that from Diaby, mate.
Oh, that's the one I'm saying that he should have saved.
Yeah, no, don't give it maybe, mate.
I mean,
he's got to save that.
It's through the players, he sees it late. I'm obviously going to defend him.
No.
But
do you think for one moment that David Raya wouldn't have saved that?
Yeah, he would have. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
But the cons of goals, no,
that's fine.
No one steps up on him. Exactly. And so I think it's one of those where he's sort of been a little bit battered by sort of everyone saying, oh, yeah, he's not David Raya, basically. But I mean, if you look at him from last year, Golden Glove winner in the Bundesliga last year, playing in a team which isn't one of the, isn't the Dortmunds or the Bayern Munichs of this world. So he's clearly a very capable goalkeeper. From a sort of passing and that side of things, very, very similar. From what I've read and what I've seen, incredibly similar sort of makeup to what Raya is. So I think a bit of time. I mean, he's in my team at the moment. So
I follow a Tottenham podcast called The Extra Inch, and I'll credit Nathan A. Clark from that podcast, who did a bit of an investigation on goalkeepers, because Tottenham have known that we needed a new goalkeeper for quite a while, and a lot of us have gone, David Raya, yeah, would be great choice. Then you hear rumours about the value involved, and you think that's not happening. So he did a dig into data of goalkeepers who were similar in style to Raya. Closest, Mark Flekken.
If you go on my favourite website, FBref, and look at number one as most comparable goalkeeper, Mark Flekken is the most comparable goalkeeper to David Raya. So, yeah.
So statistically, and what he's done in the Bundesliga last year, he came in and we went, great signing. And I think also you've got a stigma now, a good stigma, by the way, that it's like Clayton talks about this all the time. Like Brentford or Brighton are buying a footballer, he's probably good.
I've heard
and
him,
almost makes a discriminatory positive assertion. Right, Brentford have decided really early that's going to be our guy. We're going to hang our hat on him. He's the new number one. You just think, well, he'll be great. But what we've seen over the last week has not inspired.
I think so. I mean, he's playing in a new team. He's playing for when he's starting. It's not like he's playing. He's not like he's come in. He's gone into training and then he's playing at like the Brentford ground. He's come in. He's done a bit of training. He's had to fly out to America. He's playing in America, not playing in training facilities that would have been surrounded. I think it's so. There's so many reasons why it could be not working at the moment. But at the end of the day, it's been what he's played 150 minutes of football. And everyone's already making judgments that he's the worst keeper to ever grace the
not at all.
So
Not at all. I think it probably stems from disappointment, particularly in our community. We obviously see the FPL heads and stuff. Most people want to get him, right?
Yeah.
If we'd have done this podcast 2 weeks ago, the only thing people would have been wanting me to ask you is he definitely going in goal, mate?
Yeah, exactly.
And you'd have gone, yeah. And everyone would have gone, great. He's my FPL goalkeeper. Now people want me to ask you, is he any good, mate?
I mean, to be honest, I'm really happy that he's had some really bad performances, because it means when I own him and he plays really well, the ownership's going to be really low for me. So no, I mean, I'm not in any doubt that he will come good. I think it's a matter of time.
Is he going in for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're definite on it?
Yeah, I'm very definite on it. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's 4.5 mil. I mean, if he does similar to everyone's talking about, is he comparable to Raya? I mean, Raya conceded, I think it was like the 6th most shots last year. But he conceded, I think it was like the 5th least amount of goals in the league. So therefore, the amount of saves you have to make, it's just save points all day, every day. So as obviously we've spoken about, the amount of long shots we give up is phenomenal. So yeah, for me, it's easy pick.
For those that have never seen Tom or heard from Tom on a pod before, should interject at this point and say it was a guarantee that you'd have 3 Brentford players, and it was the most likely one defensively. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm about to say, yeah, I will always own 3. I won't also get those 3 right, as you and Sean found out last year. But
that's a brilliant one. So those who don't know, Tom had 3 Brentford players last year, and one of them wasn't hat-trick scoring Ivan Toney against Leeds.
No, it was. I bought him in for the hat-trick because of you and Sean. So
yeah, because
you two said, "Oh, you got to get him in." You're an idiot.
Well, you needed murdering for that, mate. You had 3 Brentford players, and one of them wasn't called Tony. I don't even know. You managed it. Fair game, mate. Nice segue. Okay, we're clear. Flecken's in goal. He's going to be number 1.
He is.
He is definitely. To be honest, jokes aside, Tom, he's absolutely on the short list for me. Absolutely in contention if I go over 4.5, because of what I would say is as well, even to just remove what I might have seen, of the 4.5 keepers in contention, you might be the best defensively.
Yeah, I think so.
So that alone, and in FPL, I feel like Jose Sar's a great example. Oh, where's Jose Sar 5 million again? Well, because for back-to-back seasons, he's posted 140 points. He's got brilliant consistency in a poor team. He's actually a decent FPL asset, and were he 4.5, you'd maybe say, well, I'll put them 140 points on the board. Because if Flekken gets that's enough, really. 140-ish.
4.5 mil, it's not
bad,
good, is it?
Be great. Be way more than Edison got this year. Right, let's talk forward. So We need to find out which other two Brentford teams you've got, Brentford players you've got in your team, mate. Who's the number one forward choice out of Brian and Mbeumo, Johan Visser? And I think Kevin Sade might be very much in your thoughts, mate.
Oh, it's changing every day at the moment. But let's start with the obvious. Brian Mbeumo in my team, easy. Oh, that's like there was. I mean, when I opened the FPL website, the first player that went in my team is Brian Mbeumo, and I think he actually might be the only player that's not left my team once, apart from maybe Mark Flekken as well. So he's on penalties. He's definitely the talisman while Toney's not there. I think he plays at the moment. He's the only player that plays on the right hand side. The natural person that can play on the right hand side, and then obviously in a two is used to playing up top with Ivan.
He played on the right against Villa because he started on the left, didn't he?
He started on the left, and Josh Silva started on the right.
Of course, but it's a brilliant goal, didn't he?
Yeah,
so good that it went through the net. You don't see that every day.
He only scores bangers.
Yeah, I think David Raya might have something to say about that. So, and Mbeumo's a definite for you. Have you got, just out of interest, have you got Mitoma as well?
I do, yeah, I do.
So you've not give yourself the difficult either or.
No.
There's no point even asking, because if I said if you had to cut one, you'd just say Mitoma, wouldn't you?
I mean, Mbeumo's going to play every game. And obviously, after what De Zerbi said, potential that he rotates his front three, obviously playing in Europe as well. I think probably leave that too.
Okay. Why is he so much a better option than the other two slightly cheaper guys?
So for me, Sade and Visser can obviously both play up top, both can play on the left. So it gives them sort of flexibility, both play that side. What's happened during pre-season is we've seen what should have happened last year is Keane Lewis-Potter's come in and looked phenomenal. I mean, he should have scored an absolute crazy goal yesterday. I was very unlucky it didn't go in. And he's looked, I actually think he's been our best player in pre-season. He's looked fantastic. And obviously more competition that side. This has always been the one that sort of dropped out when it went to the two anyway. And so he takes Toney's position, but I don't think it makes him, because Toney's not there, he's definitely going to start every single game. I think you've obviously got Kevin Sade, was recently the most expensive signing in Brentford history, who I've heard you call potentially crapid.
Well, he is certainly rapid. It's just I've not seen enough of him in front of goal.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we haven't seen a lot of him in pre-season because obviously he was playing in the under-21s World Cup Euros, one of the two, wasn't it?
Euros, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he was playing quite a lot. He played every single group game with Germany. And so I think it just gave him a little bit more time off. That's why I don't think he's come straight in. And I think it's one of those where between Wisser and Sade, I'm actually going to go with neither of them to start the season, because if I was going to go with one of them, I think right now it'd be Wisser, because I think he starts the season, but it's one of those where he could drop out so easily and Sade could come in. And so I think getting a bit of information on what happens with the two of them is potentially a bit more important, I think. And obviously the issue you've got with Sade is because he's a midfielder.
When you say information, what you just mean learning from games, do you mean?
Just like, so seeing what happens in the first game week, just getting a bit of a feel of what Frank's going to do with that team.
I think is that even going to give us answers as such? Because all I mean by that is, notoriously, we've discussed this so many times a year, back 3/back 5 in the more difficult games, back 4 against the weaker teams. Now, before you played us in game week 37, called it and went, we ain't a good team. I think Brentford will play a back 4. And you did. Mm-hmm. But your viewpoint on that game might be different now playing against Tottenham. And therefore, you could go back 3 opening game. And then I look at them afterwards. Fulham, Palace, Bournemouth. Okay, then Newcastle back 5. Everton, Forest. So you might get a back 5 against Tottenham, Newcastle. And then 5 of the other 7 are a back 4. So I'm not even sure we'll get a game week 1 answer necessarily, mate.
Although I think getting information of who plays up top with Mbeumo, if he does play a back 3, is actually more important than who plays in the back 4. Because in the back 4, obviously there's space for both of them. In the back 3, there's only space for one. And I think both can play that position.
So here's the interesting thing. So I watched the first half against Villa yesterday, right? So Mbeumo played on the left.
Yeah.
Josh Silva played on the right. Sade played for the middle.
Yeah, exactly. The problem I've got is I just have no idea who's going to be starting up top through the middle. I've said since last year, I think Sade fits the profile of striker through the middle more so. And I think actually Vissel works better on the left-hand side. So I would prefer it to be that way round. But the problem is I just don't know if that's what's going to happen.
Listen, and the honest, no one's going to pin you to say you have to know, Tom. No, it threw me a bit because I think the expectation would have been, okay, right, if De Silva's playing on the right, I get that. Then Mbeumo through the middle because mainly we've seen Sade on the left. But actually, we moved Mbeumo right to the left-hand side. And listen, don't read too much into friendlies. It could be Thomas Frank's gone, let's have a look at that. Let's see how Mbeumo does for 45 minutes on the left. I get all of those things. But he did open up. Oh yeah, wouldn't it have just been natural just to play Mbeumo through the middle? Or is Mbeumo only going to play through the middle? Therefore, when it's a front two.
So I think the good thing we have, and maybe also the bad thing for FPL, is all of our front three can play all of the front three positions. So I think Mbeumo can play right, left, through the middle. Sade can do the same, and Vissel can do the same. And so it's almost maybe like more of a fluid front three. And then looking at obviously players we're interested in signing, it sort of fits that narrative as well, that we're not actually looking for an out-and-out striker. We're looking for a fluid front three that can play all, can move into position when they're needed. So, I mean, we saw yesterday, there was Mbeumo was dropping really far back and then coming it's just moving all over the place. And Sade was more of an out-and-out, obviously, when he was playing. But
so the extra layer of confusion here, which you just alluded to, is it seems fairly clear that you are trying to buy another forward player.
Yes.
Mark Southern said to us on episode 1, which Tom won't know because he's recording with me as that's live now. Mark Southern said to us, if Brennan Johnson joined Brentford, he is straight in my team.
Oh, Toney's in mine too. Yeah.
Hang on. Have you got Brennan Johnson in there now so you can try and get 4 Brentford players?
No, but now I know that. So I'm actually going to do that. So we've been interested in Brennan Johnson for years now. I think it's 2 or 3 years we've been sort of looking around. I mean, we put bids in when they were in the Championship. I think it was around 15 mil got rejected. We've now put in a bit of 35 mil being rejected. I don't think we will get him because I think Forest want more than we're going to be willing to offer. But he is a good player. I think it's one of those where we can probably find value elsewhere, especially if that's the sort of money they're after.
Yeah, I mean, 30 million plus, heard mentioned. And Forest want more, which is absolutely their right, particularly if they've got a potential interested buyer and get as much as you can get out of it. I do wonder if a Raya deal happened quicker, though. Probably talking similar-ish sort of fees, maybe. And I think for me, the Brentford attacking players right now, that would be the biggest nervous thing for me, because I think there's a case to be made for, I mean, you throw in Lewis Potter's form in, you could make a case for all 4. Lewis Potter's 5 million, by the way.
Yeah.
So really cheap. So you could make a case at 6.5, 6.0, 5.5, 5.0. You've actually got an offensive player, all those price brackets, that's actually really interesting. And yet, the best asset might not be at the football club. It's not just Johnson, right? There could be alternatives. And it leaves me questioning why. There are certain ones you can look at. Let's say Kane leaves Tottenham. Richarlison's probably going to play up front, and Tottenham probably aren't going to buy another forward. Or they're going to buy an understudy forward. Whereas I'm looking at this now and going, well, if this front three, with the support of Lewis Potter, even people like Damsgaard, is that good? Why are you still looking for another forward? And that's obvious. You can say, well, Toney's unavailable, of course. But then that makes me really nervous about investing in a Brentford player, because we could say Mbeumo's best, but that's probably Brennan Johnson's best position. So could that mean Mbeumo goes to the left? There's too many question marks there. That's making me nervous, I think, Tom.
Yeah, I think. So we'll use the example. If Brennan Johnson joins, I don't think that particularly affects Mbeumo's minutes. I think he'll still play.
I would agree with that.
80 minutes every week. Maybe he'll come off. I mean, he's definitely. Thing is that he's the easy, sure pick. Gonna play. Definite talisman for us. Yeah, if we sign another forward, then it becomes difficult to know who's going to play, who you're going to pick, because obviously then we do have quite a few of them. I mean, I've only got Mbeumo as a forward attacker at the moment, so I'm double defence at the moment.
Is this out and out forward now? Because he hasn't been.
No, I mean left winger. He plays both positions, but I think, I mean, he played well as a two in the games towards the end of the season without Toney. But I think he plays well on the left as well. I don't think this.
His numbers are good.
Yeah, very. Well, his minutes per goal really good. I've just never been really sold on him. I think that's why I've been so on.
Because
he misses quite a lot of chances, in my opinion.
So it's like, even all, mate.
I think it's one of those. I mean, yesterday it's just like he sort of. Maybe because it's pre-season, but whenever I watch him, it's almost like he wants to take it all on himself, and he doesn't. It's maybe a little bit greedy, and from what I see, I'm always like, and obviously then he gets the numbers, but I think there's times where I watch it, I'm like, oh, all you have to do is like lay that pass off, and that's a goal. You've taken it on your own. You've hit it 3 yards over or into row Z sort of thing. So I've just never really been fully sold on him. That's a sort of reason why I want Shardo to be as good as I think he could be.
So are you sold on Shardo as a player?
Yeah, I think well, maybe go what's Clayton said now, but we do seem to scout them really well, and there's a reason we spent a lot of money on him. Whenever I've watched him, yeah, he's incredibly quick, but quite good control. He has a lovely assist. I think was that against you lot towards the end of last season. Ran down the wing, absolutely skinned someone around the byline, and then cut it inside. Potentially not, but
no, I mean he gave Emerson some real troubles, particularly in the first time. That's what lightning quick.
Yeah,
so quick. I don't know if he had a hand in maybe the third goal where there was I feel it was Hickey's pass from Bumo, wasn't it? For the
yeah, I think it was, but I don't know. I'm relatively sold on him. I think he will be very good. I think he's going to end up becoming one of those players though that maybe sort of like you get sort of like game week 8 or 9, and that's when we see more of his involvement is more so. Obviously, he only came in January last year. He's had a full preseason this year. It seems like the time where he's going to get introduced a bit more. And obviously, with Toney being out, I think we'll see him more so. The problem is it's him being a midfielder, which makes it difficult, I think, because obviously the safe pick is Mbumo. The dangerous, very punty pick is Kevin Shardo.
I think with Mbumo, it was one right even at the end of last season because of the situation with Toney. It was like people had decided want to go there, and it was almost as long as the price isn't, oh my god, it's too much. Then yeah, I want to go there. Then the fixtures come out, and you go, oh, it's good opening. That opening 7's really good. Sure, there's Newcastle away in there, but it's really good. Then you go to United, but then there's still Burnley at home afterwards. There's a lot of talk at the moment of moving certain assets on to other players when fixtures swing. Selling a Brentford player would be tough. That's not to say you shouldn't have for that reason, but I think it's something we should be conscious of. That if you think, well, I'll go and Boomo now, and I'll leave some money for a Chelsea player for game week 3, and Brentford are walking into Palace at home and Bournemouth at home. I wouldn't want to sell there.
Yeah, I mean,
saying.
Potentially, maybe even at the start of the season, it's worth going. Sorry, and obviously, I'm talking from myself because I'm an idiot. But leaving the ability to move into them. So, I mean, I've got 2. Obviously, I've got 3. But maybe dropping one out and having 2, so to be able to jump onto the player that's performing better. Your Shardo, your Visser.
You're going to do the Ivan Toney trick again, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm going to lock myself out with 3 players like normal. So,
do you think that the team that Frank will pick at the weekend against Lille will be the team that starts against Tottenham?
Oh, yes, maybe like 1 or 2 changes, but yeah, I think it's got to be like
got to be close.
It's got to be close, doesn't it? I mean, you want them to play together.
Yeah, it's worth saying we've not spoken about this too much on the pod so far, but take City we did speak about City a bit, obviously playing Arsenal in the Community Shield this weekend. These final friendlies, the final ones, do begin to, I think, give you an indication subject to minutes. So that if he changes the whole team at half time, probably doesn't give us anything. But if you're looking at the majority of players getting sort of 70 minutes or so plus, you could write them in as probable, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, week 1.
You want to get them some good game time before the first game week as well, don't you? So.
Do you think there's a chance Lewis Potter starts against Tottenham now?
I think there is. Yeah, I really think there is. He's been, I think he's, as I said, he's definitely been one of our best players on pre-season. Just looks really on it. Obviously, had a really injury hit season last season. And yeah, he almost looks a bit like the player like we actually wanted to sign when we signed him. So yeah, it looks really good. I can't see any reason why.
Who do you think? Let's say he gets in. Who do you think is the bigger threat to? Is it a bigger threat to Vissa or Sharda?
Sharda at the moment. So I think we'll see Vissa start up front. I think we'll see Vissa start through the middle, and then I think we'll see Sharda on the left if we play a 3 at the top up front. Obviously, as you mentioned, if we do play a 3 at the back against Tottenham, then it throws all out the window. But I think we'll see Vissa start the season with Mbeumo. Definitely, as those two.
The way Tottenham look like they're going to play, if I was Brentford, I'd be thinking, pick the fastest guys I've got. Yeah, and therefore Sade would play. Even if it is a back 5, they'd play Sade and probably Mbeumo as the front 2. That would make me more nervous, I think. Because I'd think over the top, you play over the top of Romero or whatever.
Kevin Sade,
one-footed left centre back we've got on the day, which is going to be bad. Then we're in trouble. Yeah, I'd think if I see a back 5 and Sade's up front, I'm quite worried about that.
Especially with Hickey and Henry on the wings as well. That's a scary combination, isn't it?
Interesting. But Lewis Potter, even though he's 5 million, not tempted to punt it at this stage.
No, I mentioned yesterday I thought he's had a really good preseason, but again, it's one of those where you'd be going into, I mean, because he's cheap, I guess, but it's sort of taken up. Why go for him when you could go for a 4.5 to start the season? It just seems a little bit too punty.
But if you were looking at perhaps a 3 up front and you made a couple of nervous calls that you weren't sure on, might be a little bit of insurance policy, but he's that in itself, isn't he? If you pick him as a starter, I think the problem with him at his price is if you pick him as a starter and you're wrong, where you're going, it can become a problem.
If he was a 5 million forward, I'd be more tempted to punt him.
He's the sort of one, I think, that, because I've seen a few people ask after him, it almost feels like if you're trying to force in, say, Haaland, Salah, Trent, people like him suddenly become right on your radar. Because if we can identify these guys at sort of 5 million, we go, yeah, he's great. If I said, now, right, Lewis Potter's going to be first choice for Brentford, do you want to play 1.5 more from Mbeumo over him if you're saying he's possibly been your best player in pre-season?
Oh,
when that 1.5 might be the difference that allows you to work a team that's got, say, Mo Salah and Trent in it.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I think the positive with Mbeumo is you get the penalties with it as well.
Yeah,
he's obviously a definite penalty.
I'm sure Mbeumo would definitely outscore Lewis Potter, but then it becomes combinations, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, corners and free kicks as well. I mean, it's all set pieces, so
it might be that you're going right Lewis Potter and Trent rather than Mbeumo and Trippier, for example. That's the only one I can think off the top of my head, or let's say Robertson instead of Trent, right? So that's the sort of debate you're having.
Yeah.
These defensive ones, Tom, I'd take the third player you've got is a defensive player. Right?
He is indeed, yes.
Right. Which fullback is it?
It's Aaron Hickey at the moment.
Oh, because I've been talking him up for like 2 months, haven't I?
I know you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, towards the end of last season looked great. Back to full fitness. Only sort of worry about it is obviously Roslev played a lot there last year. Henry's the more, but Henry's had. I'm so torn between the two of them. I'll probably end up going Henry because you know he's going to start every game. I think my issue with Hickey is I think he could get rotated more. So
Hickey can play left back as well.
He can. He did it obviously against Villa. But I just think Rico Henry's so good.
I love him. I think he's great.
That you're just not going to drop him unless he gets injured. Unless he really needs a rest, he's going to play 90 minutes every week. I mean, I wouldn't want to guess for the minutes he played last year, but I'd imagine it'd be very close to maximum.
I think those two fullbacks are brilliant, by the way, mate. I know this time last year we were a bit gutted that Hickey came in at 5, which just took him off the table.
Where's this
completely?
Year?
Now it's not. And the other thing I think is I saw progression throughout that season. Hickey, we have to remember it was his first Premier League year, and I'd take Rico Henry all day long down at Spurs. Terrific talent. About time he got in the England squad properly and got a look in, I think. But I think in terms of his attacking output, I'm not sure it will go up more.
Do you not? Okay.
And I mean, it's not high anyway, right?
No.
I'm not sure that we're looking at a player there where I go, yeah, you might get 5, 6 in a season. Whereas I think Hickey, it might really develop this year. It's almost like I think they'll probably do quite similar, but I feel like Hickey might go up a bit. It might go up a level.
I think you'll see from. I think the thing with Rico is obviously you get, because he's got such unbelievable pace on him as well, that he can just be left back a little bit further and just go, right, you mop it up, sort of thing. And so that sort of takes away a little bit, especially from the sort of that side of things. But I've seen a few, obviously a few. I mean, he's got 2 assists in preseason. Preseason means nothing, but he has looked very good on that left hand side when he has played.
What you pick Hickey for there?
Well, that's why I'm just at the moment placeholder for one of them. So I'm in agreement with you though. I think Hickey can. I mean, there was talk when season ended that Man City were interested in him. I was like, wow, that's come out of nowhere. Obviously, luckily, it's not materialised at anything.
We mentioned this the other week on the pod we did on players. We think he had a good season, but we think he could. Me and Clayton were saying we think he could go up another level this year, and we thought that probably this time next year we'd be talking about some of the biggest clubs in the country really looking at him. Actually,
yeah, potentially. He's definitely a talent. I'm 50-50 between them at the moment. So it's one of those where I think, and I'm maybe a bit of a safe player, but Rico's my 90 minutes every week. I don't think he's going to get rotated.
I think if the average person said to you, Tom, which one, you'd say Henry.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think I would. But I think there is, like you said, there's a lot of potential for Hickey to be, super cheap at 4.5 mil. And he's going to put, I think, obviously, he's definitely first choice. Roslev's been great when he's played, but he's not the same caliber as player, I don't think. So,
Ben Me, no consideration with the hike?
Not a 5 mil, no. And obviously,
it's worth that if he repeats it.
Getting older, obviously, we've signed Nathan Collins now as well. Christopher Ayer's back from actually fit now, so there's a lot more competition in that middle section that just makes the centre backs, I think generally an avoid.
You say that, but there is I think with certain teams, you think I want the attacking fullback. It's more exciting. Where, for example, if we were looking at say Tottenham centre backs versus fullbacks, it's like I want to know which fullback's going to play.
Yeah,
but with yours, the centre backs will chip in.
Absolutely, and they're the target for every set piece, aren't they?
Yeah. So
yeah, if you're going to pick
Pinnock or Collins,
Pinnock
starts. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be Pinnock and me. I actually think if anyone is going to drop out of that team, it would be Ben Me over Pinnock. I think.
Really?
I think so. I just mean like, I love Ben Me. I still have of the opinion of, for his price last year as a free. Obviously, best value signing in the entire Premier League. I can include Haaland in that because obviously he cost a lot of money. But obviously free, and he was fantastic. Last year contract this year, whether we extend it again, I'm sure we probably will, to be honest. But he's now obviously of an age where is he going to play every single week? Now, obviously, he's not the sort of player where he relies on his pace or things like that. So obviously, it's not as big a deal, the fact he's now getting on. But are we going to protect him a little bit more? Rather than obviously Ethan Pinnock is 29, I believe, a little bit younger, still obviously coming into his prime years. I think that you're going to see more so him.
You'd go as far to say Pinnock first choice?
Yeah, I think so.
It's close. Interesting. I agree with you in terms of, I think if it's back 4, then I agree. I think Collins would be eased in rather than automatic first choice. But I wouldn't see Ben Mee coming out that team for anything more than the rest. Would be my personal take.
Agreed. No, I think that those two are definitely the first choice pairing at the start of the season. And we'll see Nathan Collins will be eased in. And then you've still got Christopher Ayer there as well. And that's the sort of, where does he fit into the team? Because he wasn't cheap.
Runnings is still there.
I know.
Sanka.
Oh, yeah, I completely forgot about him, to be honest. he's
that's legit where his name is from.
Yeah,
it's called Runnings.
Yeah, he's been an unbelievable deputy when he's needed to come in. I think he's actually been fantastic. I was very, very anxious when he joined, but he is nothing more than deputising now. Another extension on this contract for another year.
Okay.
So no, me and Pinnock.
Couple of quick fires.
Mm-hmm.
You personally, would you like to see your team play a back 3 or back 4 against Tottenham?
4.
And you think he'll go for
back 3?
Helpful.
It says, it makes sense to play back 3 against how you're going to, because obviously you're going to be very pressing.
Why is Shandon Baptiste the most owned 4.5 million midfielder in the game?
Absolutely no idea. He's had a good preseason, but he's not a starter.
It was one of the highest scoring of the 4.5s. I think it's second most.
Oh, is he?
on points last season. Yeah, so that's the reason why
That'd be why.
he's not first choice, is he?
No,
He won't
definitely
get
not.
many minutes. What is the first choice midfield for?
Christian Norgard, Matthias Jensen. Oh, Janelt in the harder games. Maybe Damsgaard now in the more attacking games.
He helped when in that Tottenham game in 37 when he came on. I think Tottenham dropped off massively, but he also came on and changed it for you.
Yeah, he's looking better and better. I think he's another one that's going to have a great season this year, actually.
We got Frank and Yeka in there as well. De Silva.
It all mix. I mean, the midfield always mixed up. Your dead certs in there. You got Christian Norgard obviously going to play every minute.
Is Norgard a cert?
Oh yeah, 100%.
He missed a lot of last season.
Injury, a lot of injury,
and the team coped well. He'd have been one when he was ruled out. I'd have gone, worried about that really because we really rate him, but you didn't really miss him. In fairness, it's probably real credit to Janelt primarily, and also I think Jensen went up a level last year.
Oh, he was, yeah. I mean, to answer your question, start with Norgard's been put as captain this year now. Pontus has gone. So
okay, that's not a surprising choice.
And then Janelt's vice. So I'd imagine those two pretty much playing quite a lot. I mean, Norgard's in my Sky team at the moment. So
are we completely overlooking Jensen? And should we?
No, I think I thought he played really well last year, but it just never seemed to be the right time to get him in. And I just think we're going to see more output
he had
from
this
other
consistent
players.
little run. It was one of them. You probably look back on it in hindsight and go, I could have just left him there all year, and he'd have been perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, it's just another one. Really, it's like you're taking up a midfield spot with someone who's not got a huge goals and assists output, and so I just don't think he's I don't think he's not. He's not obviously expensive, so he's not crazy, but I just don't think he's sort of a standout. I need to have him in my team.
Good player, though. I think he's very underrated, actually. Yeah.
So I was getting to the opinion a couple of years ago where I thought we're going to probably have to upgrade him at some point, and then last year just blew me out the water.
Really good,
unbelievable. He just stepped up a new level. Whether he started reading the fan comments of people saying, "Oh, he's not playing very well."
If you had to start with Jensen or Sade, you gamble Sade. I take it.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, cool. Tom, brilliant, pleasure. Thank you so much for that, mate.
No worries.
It's very, very insightful with your not usual nonsense of free Brentford, but I ain't got on Boomo, which is not true. Where do you think you finished, mate?
I'm going to go with 11th.
How many correspondents do you think predicted you to get relegated?
Surely none.
Yeah, I just wanted to test you.
Okay, yeah, about to say.
I think the top 9 is going to be really difficult to break through this year. I think you'd be 10th.
Yeah, it's the teams from last year who did shit and now will probably do better. Yes, like your Chelsea's, your West Ham's, they'll come back.
I think you've nailed this adaptability between your systems and when you play them, which means that you can be awful for the big clubs when they play you and also completely adapt your style in terms of stylistics and the tactical formations you play against the sides that you would expect to be. I think you've nailed it. And Toney's obviously going to be a big miss because he gives you certain guarantees of points, etc. But I think you could be top half again, mate.
He's back in January. We've only got to survive a few months. Easy.
Any chance he leaves in January?
Yeah, potentially. Well,
do you think really?
You lot bloody sniffing around again, aren't you?
Well, can you blame us?
We're basically becoming Tottenham's B team, aren't we? Seems to be. Well, sorry, you want to be Tottenham's B team, but you can't afford to buy any of our players.
Surely, in seriousness, even if that sort of deal was in place, it would be more beneficial to him, even I think, to play January to May at Brentford and then move it, get his fitness back in and his eye and whatnot, and then move in the summer. But I think it's fair to say if he not come into the ban and Kane was leaving Tottenham, which at the time of recording we don't know either way. But if he was, it's fair to say Tottenham would probably be all over it because he's the closest you could get in terms of stylistic and stuff. His performance at Anfield, his last game, mate.
I was there, and honest to God, it was incredible,
phenomenal.
The little flicks,
it was best player on the pitch, even though you lost
by a long way. Yeah, he was unbelievable. obviously it's one of those again where if we wait till next summer, though, again it goes into his last year of contract. I know we've already offered him a new contract, even though he's in the ban at the moment. So
I think that's a smart move, by the way.
Yeah, it shows.
Which might get a bit of loyalty back in.
Absolutely, I hope so. But I mean, I'd love for him to stay. I think, unfortunately, he's definitely destined for bigger and better things because he is a world-class player by a long way. Yeah, he's incredible.
Did you believe it when he missed against Newcastle?
Sorry?
He missed the penalty.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. He's allowed to miss one every so often.
Well, that's not meant to happen, is it?
He's not perfect. He scored another one that game, though, didn't he?
I wouldn't bother putting him in the England squad now. I know that.
They wouldn't put him anyway. So he scored another one that game, though, didn't he? He missed one, then scored one.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that is absolutely spot on, mate. Tom, what's your first COTC? Is it Newcastle away? I think in the international break. I think.
Don't ask me that. It might be.
Is.
You do like to give me the tough games, don't you?
To be honest, that's Newcastle's turn of fixtures will be what that's all about. But I mean, transfer window be shut. Then we'll definitely know where we're at by that point. But I think, a lot of people are going to go for Mbeumo, and I think it's fully justified. Even though I don't think I'm going to be going there myself. I don't think. That's
fine. When he scores a hat-trick against you in the first game week, I'll send you a message.
Know it even better now, don't I? Yeah, it's inevitable, mate. Don't worry. I'm probably not going to go with Fernandes. He'll tear me apart in game week 2 as well, mate. Oh, spoiled a Man United podcast now. And Tom, anything you want to plug before you go, mate?
No, nothing this year. No pod this year. So, I mean, you sign up for your Patreon instead. There you go. Plug yourself.
What a good sell. I'm not even meant to mention that on Correspondent week, but
it's a shame, isn't it?
It's in the bio. Cheers, mate. And Tom, envelope's coming, mate. How's Cam? Is he right?
All good. Yeah. Too busy with his little one now to have any time for me. Selfish, so selfish.
Good stuff. Pass on our regards, mate.
Will do.
And we'll speak soon. Good luck for the season, starting in game week 2. Cheers, Tom. Cue music, please, man, Shark.